Welcome to the turn of night.
A cliché, if you will. As if on cue, the metal gate creaked when opened. Unfazed, I walked up to the front door and knocked. I was invited in, not by a ghastly-looking butler, but by an enthusiastic young lady who smiled and motioned for me to come in. She took my coat and hung it with the others. I was led into the dining room and seated at a large table. There were 11 others already seated. The young lady and I took our places as the others nodded to us. I did not know them previously. "We shall begin," announced the medium. There were two, actually. A female and male couple appeared to be in their mid-50s. "Please, turn off any phones or devices first and take each other's hands." The candlelit room and the dull sound of the rain and thunder seemed almost too surreal. I was certain this was all a show, a theatrical evening planned out for nights such as this. The female medium began her invitation to the spirit of the house's original owner. It was the standard Parlour routine, and for the next few minutes seemed to live up to the TV movie screen stereotype. After a few minutes, my hands were beginning to feel numb, I assumed from their position on the table. Everyone at once, including me, seemed to tense up. The medium's voice began to quiver. Her partner urged everyone to stay calm. Her invocation contained the word memento, and it had struck a chord within me. Olim memenis. I could hear some of the others speaking in whispers, one of them saying it was Latin for remember the past. I felt empty for a moment, and as if I had left for a split second. The lightning outside lit up the room, and then suddenly the tension was gone. Still, the uneasy feeling was there. I somehow chalked that up to the mediums and the host doing their job, but I felt as though I had learned something that I had already known. I turned to the young lady who initially greeted me. She smiled and seemed entertained by this performance. The mediums concluded that the seance was over, and that spirits were in fact present. Everyone seemed to have enjoyed this act. I could hear a thumping sound, surely from somewhere within this old house, but I dismissed it. The young lady and others were handed drinks by our host. I could see them almost glowing. I was handed a drink and sipped on it. The conversations ranged from spirituality to real estate, community news to nationwide sports. Funny how I heard all of that at once, but I must admit, my senses were feeling sharper than they'd been in some time. Or so I thought. The others in the room gave off an air of calmness, and I appreciated the ease of conversation. The mediums at one point did become serious and insisted that something was here among us. The female looked at me and then to her partner. Admitting a certain level of theatricality, they assured everyone that they were quite experienced in paranormal matters. Perhaps they did have a certain intuition about this. In fact, I know they did. They awkwardly looked at me when we spoke, even in a group. I had gone to the kitchen to get a glass of water, and on returning, I checked myself in the hall mirror. I swear that I saw a dark silhouette with piercing white eyes instead of my own reflection. Startled, I blinked and then saw myself in the mirror. I rejoined the party, yet something still seemed off. I was not afraid and felt as though I'd never be afraid of anything on this earth again. But why? 2 hours later, after more drinks and conversation, the guests would leave, including the mediums. As I walked to the street, a flash of lightning lit up the sky once again. I caught my reflection in a car window. The dark figure had returned. It was me. Not an illusion or trick, not a hallucination or overactive imagination. It was me. I remember now. Over 100 years ago, the spiritualist craze was in full swing. Occults were everywhere, and although much of it was a novelty, occasionally one of these hucksters got the words right. This house was close to where I entered the Earth's realm. This is now where I remembered who and what I am, and possibly a similar spell is why I've forgotten. The mediums got into their car and began to drive off. I will follow them. Perhaps their expertise will provide the answers I seek. If not, they will serve another purpose. You see, suddenly I'm starving, like I haven't eaten in nearly a century.
The lights are on as the evening shadows are creeping in. Hopefully, you won't get caught in the turn of night.